Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We are now officially complete, so ready to start. Welcome. Very happy to see all of you. Welcome to the panel session on realizing meaningful youth participation and achieving SDGs in Cyprus. My name is Arnaud Amouroux. I represent here the United Nations Good Offices mission on the island. And I'm a focal point for youth-related matters. At the outset, I want to express our appreciation for the good cooperation we've been enjoying with the Cyprus Forum. This is the third consecutive year that we are present at the forum, and very happy also to continue with the tradition of hosting peace-building themed sessions. 3 years ago, we had one session only one session on peace building. This year, I mean, the entire afternoon is going to be dedicated to that topic. So it's excellent. So meaningful youth participation is definitely a multifaceted concept. And I'm sure our panelists here will delve more into it. But just for as far as where I sit, to me, it's about engagement. Please make your way. We've got space in front. So to me, it's definitely about engagement, empowerment, agency, leadership, and influence. And I think it's definitely, we know all about the need to listen to what the youth has to say in terms of their needs, their concerns, their perspectives. But I think more importantly, it's about amplifying what they have to say. It's about valuing, acknowledging, and at the end of the day, incorporating and integrating into decision-making processes and peace-related initiatives. So, in short, meaningful youth participation is not just something nice to have. For those of you who were this morning at the in attendance at the keynote speech of our boss, Mr. Colin Stewart, he also made the point that inclusivity and transparency not only improves and enhance decision-making processes, makes them more efficient, but in turn, it helps promoting or restoring trust in public institutions. And when it comes to peace agreements, as we know, inclusivity and transparency make those peace agreements more durable and more sustainable. Hence, it's critical. As far as the UN here on the island is concerned, youth, peace, and security related matters are also something we are mandated to work on by the Security Council. And here, I just want to make a quick reference to the latest Security Council resolution of January 23, which calls on the two leaders, I quote, to increase the support to and ensure a meaningful role for civil society engagement in peace efforts, in particular strengthening the participation of women's organizations and youth in the peace process. So let me now turn to all my panelists. I'm sure you will have a lot to to share in terms of all the points I've mentioned and many more. First, I want to acknowledge our 4 young Cypriots, remarkable individuals. They are all under 30 years of age, and they have in common to work tirelessly towards a more peaceful, resilient, tolerant, and a sustainable island. They will tell us about their journeys, their experiences, their thoughts, and also the challenges that they may be faced with, which then what would be useful is to hear from you, possible remedial actions in the form of policy recommendations. And let me also greet Miss Awa Dabo. It's a great honor to have you, Miss. Awa comes from United Nations headquarters in New York, where she serves as the deputy head of the Peace Building Support Office. And she will be shedding light on the wider youth, peace, and security agenda, as well as the SDGs. So it would be very interesting. As we know, we are 7 years to go to the achievement of the SDGs, And the SG was telling us a few days ago that only 15% of targets have been met. So there is definitely a lot of work that remains to be done. Let me finish about the format of this panel session. Each panelist will be given 2 questions. And I kindly ask you to stick to your allocated time. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end for question and answers. So with that, let me turn to Awa for the first question. It would be great if you could walk us through the youth peace and security agenda, and also tell us about what the UN can do in terms of helping a global community in fostering meaningful youth participation, especially in decision-making processes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm not under 30. It's been a long time since I was under 30, but I feel it sitting right here with these amazing panelists. And I'm very happy to be here. Really, it's a very, it's certainly a very young room, but very clearly a very brilliant one. My name is Awa. Like Arnaud has just said, I work with the United Nations Department for Political and Peace Building Affairs. I will try to not use too many acronyms because the United Nations is known for that. So forgive me if I slip occasionally. And I work in what is known as the Peace Building Support Office, which is the part of DPPA that focuses on peace building, working with the UN system, as well as with civil society organizations, with private sector, with regional entities, etc. Just fostering and pushing on the UN's peace building agenda. So just to say to the Cyprus Forum organizers, thank you so much for inviting us here. Very pleased to be here, and thank you, Arnaud, of course. I look forward to this discussion and to learning actually more from the panelists as well as from all of you. So quickly on the youth, peace and security agenda. My office is actually quite central to the work we do on YPS because we lead on the YPS for what we call the peace and security pillar of the UN. So maybe the secretariat pillar of the UN. And we do this in partnership with the United Nations, UNFPA, the United Nations Fund for Population. Yeah. We co-lead this for the UN system, and we also provide secretariat support for the UN system. But we don't only do it for ourselves, obviously, we do it in support for governments, regional entities, civil society, etc. The YPS agenda is the global policy framework that guides how the UN works to ensure youth inclusion in political processes. And in 2015, the Security Council unanimously adopted the YPS agenda as a resolution known as Resolution 2250. And what the resolution did was to recognize how important young people have, the important role that young people have to play in international peace and security. The resolution clearly states that achieving peace and security is not possible if youth who are largely affected by conflict and crisis are left out of the conversation. And this is not only, when we say obviously crisis, it's not about conflict, open conflict per se. It's also about prevention. It's about cohesion within communities, within societies, and it really ultimately affects all of us, irrespective of where we live and where we come from. So youth are really an integral part of this. You're an integral part of ensuring that prevention and conflict resolution activities are effective and that they are sustainable, that they're inclusive as well. Youth are also very important in the UN's peacekeeping activities because obviously it's important that the youth voice is heard when these processes are being put in place. The resolution 2250 states that a large youth population presents a unique demographic dividend to contribute to lasting peace and economic prosperity. But of course, to do so, we have to ensure that governments have in place policies that are inclusive, that speaks to youth, that speaks to women, that speaks to all different stakeholders that have a part to play or that are affected by the crisis. One important aspect of the YPS agenda is that it urges member states to develop mechanisms and policies and strategies that allow young people to meaningfully participate. And I think that is the key word, that it's not only about a ticking the box exercise, it's about ensuring that we work with member states so that young people can really meaningfully participate. And this is at all levels. It's at local level, at national level, at regional level, and international level. And hopefully I'll get a chance to say a little bit more about that. So it's clear then that young people's voices are valued and have to be valued, that the agency of young people is important, that it's important that we're deliberate in integrating the contributions of young people in all these different processes that we are engaged in. So how does the UN do? Just to answer your question, I think we'll talk a little bit about the work we do as the UN system. And in this case, I speak not only for my office, I think I speak for the larger UN system. And to say that we work at different levels. We work at programmatic level through our support to projects and programs at country level. We work in supporting government to develop policies and strategies, mechanisms. We work in creating tools to ensure that this is youth are involved, and other groups, not only youth, are involved, but involved meaningfully and involved sustainably. We are well aware that there are capacity deficits, or there could be capacity deficits. So we work to ensure that these capacities are also built so that there is real meaningful participation. But maybe just to focus on one, which is on advocacy, a very important part of the work we do. Advocating towards member states, ensuring that member states know to take this role very seriously, because ultimately as well, irrespective of the programs and the policies, a really key part of ensuring that youth can contribute is about the member states and about member states demonstrating will to allow youth to participate, and also making sure the resources, the tools, the policies are available to do that. So just very quickly to say that from my office, we work with member states and regional organizations to institutionalize the YPS agenda. So just to give you some examples. For example, we have worked with the League of Arab States to develop a regional strategy for the Arab region on youth, peace, and security. We also are working with the Latin American region to look at conducting a regional Latin American dialogue in Bogota, in Colombia, to create regional narratives on YPS. And we do, of course, as well through the programmatic work we do. And as well as, of course, we also note that with the European Union, there's a European Youth Action Plan in EU external action, working on the first policy framework for a strategic partnership with young people around the world. We are also currently advocating with the Security Council. We are really hopeful that we can have a Security Council open debate early next year on the YPS. And it's really important. It's really important that we are not having these discussions only here, that we are pushing to have these discussions at the highest level, political forum, and to give it the kind of attention that it requires as far as having multilateral decisions on peace and security issues. And finally, just to talk about the Peace Building Commission. The UN Peace Building Commission is probably the highest forum, intergovernmental forum available that discusses peace building issues. It's an intergovernmental forum, and again, that's one of the roles we have in my office, is providing support, secretariat support to the Peace Building Commission, including technical and advisory support as well to the Peace Building Commission. And it's a really important forum because there you have governments having discussions that are country specific, regional specific, or thematic specific, as it speaks to peace building, but also, of course, as it relates to youth. We also facilitate, my office facilitates the involvement and participation of youth groups, civil society organizations focused on youth, into this really high-level intergovernmental forum and being able to contribute to some of these policy-level discussions. So this is an important work platform, certainly for young peace builders. And also just to say, finally, that it's good to note that the Peace Building Commission is probably the only intergovernmental commission, intergovernmental body that I know of that has a strategic action plan on youth and peace building. So the work of the YPS, or the YPS, is a key strategic priority for the Peace Building Commission, and certainly a priority for us all. Thanks.
Thank you, Awa. Very much for the global outlook. Now let's go into the reality of the island. And the first panelist I would like to call is Asya. Asya is a graduate of the College of Europe. She's coming all the way from Brussels to be with us today. She works at the European Parliament. And Asya, I would like you to tell us a little bit about your journey. And also, I think you wanted to share an anecdote about a bicommunal event that you organized at the College of Europe. And also the fact that you are a co-founder of the European Union Cypriot Students, EUCS. So if you could tell us about that, that would be great. Thanks.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, Arnaud, and thank you a lot for the organizers to just inviting me to this meaningful panel. And thank you, Ava. Um, I'm super happy that the youth engagement agenda is like higher and higher on the agendas of UN, not only UN but EU as well. We can saw this with the European Youth Year of Youth, for example, or with the citizens panels, requirements of 30% youth to join. So these are the amazing steps forward for the youth engagement to the process. So if I continue with the questions, yes, I recently graduated from College of Europe. For the ones who doesn't know that, it's a post graduate institute in Bruges. So it's a master's degree for European studies. And it has like college has students from all over the Europe mainly and Northern Africa as well. So from Slovenia to Iceland or Portugal to Turkey, there's students. And this year, for the first time, we had two Cypriots in the college. Before it was just one. And this year, for the first time, there was one Turkish Cypriot, which was me, and one Greek Cypriot, which was Andones. And during this year, we decided to do something together to just share our common culture and like promote the unity of the island. And during the national weeks, which happens in the second semester, to just countries have the chance to promote and present their culture and share their experience and everything. So for the first time, we did a Cyprus stay together, with not with the Turkish community or the Greek community, but just as Cypriots, as Cyprus. We had a Cyprus stay with two events, uh, one of which was, of course, a halloumi barbecue event because we're Cypriots, you know what? And we ate 20 kilos of halloumi, and symbolically, it was 10 kilos was from Turkish Cypriot producers and 10 kilos was from Greek Cypriot producers. And one third of the college was there. They loved the halloumi, so it was a pretty good music and chill event. And after the fun stuff, we went to the serious stuff and we had a panel on Cyprus and EU relations, where distinguished guests from External Action and Commission joined us. And Federica Mogherini, our rector and the former High Representative for Foreign Affairs, was our moderator. She really fond of the event and everything. So we did this amazing event with just a simple goal in mind, just promote unity and understanding, bridge the divides between the communities from Bruges to Cyprus. About the second question, it was about EUCS. Yes, so it is a multi-communal youth initiative for all the Cypriot students in the EU. So the ones who has problems with the health insurance or just registering to the city, just to help them, to show them, to guide them, to have a community there, every country in EU. You have the QR codes if you want to just check it out. And so there's that. Thank you.
Asya. Let me move on to your neighbor to the left, Paris. Thank you for being with us, Paris. So Paris is a master student at UCY in Peace and Conflict Studies. He's also a former UN Youth Champion for Environment and Peace, and we've got another one on the panel, but I won't, reveal the surprise yet. And he's a Winds of Change ambassador, and he will tell us maybe a little bit later about that. But I think, Paris, you wanted to engage the audience in some ice-breaking activity.
I mean, we are in the Be Active Week, so I think it's only fair to engage the crowd. Yes, first of all, hi, and thank you very much for this great opportunity. I would like to ask, who of you, I need a volunteer, feels like they're not completely confident to catch a ball? Raise your hands. Please. Not confident? You feel like you maybe drop it? You want to join us? Just for it. Yes, thank you. Okay, so what's your name? Alex. So Alex, for the next minute, I want you to listen to my instructions. as I will be throwing you the ball. Okay, so look at me and catch the ball with both your hands. Good. Throw it back to me. Perfect. Now I want you, while catching the ball, to recognize, is it spinning on the left or on the right? You ready, Alex? We can do this together. Perfect. Where did it rotate? This side or this side? On the left. Throw it back to me. Now for the last part, I will ask you to catch the ball while it's rotating, and then I want you to throw it back to me the same way that I threw it to you. You ready, Alex? We can do this together. Yes? Perfect. Thank you very much. So what we have just demonstrated with Alex was that interaction, participation, and sports can create these memories, and it can bring people together, close together. It's only fair to recognize that only participation in sports bears a great potential in unity and bringing people together closer. Like, if I'm gonna be more specific, and if I was gonna quote the Olympic values, as me and Alex together were striving to make the task correctly, we acquired this common understanding, respect to your opponent, and also me and Alex, we can become friends in the process. So, and especially coming here as a Winds of Change ambassador, I believe that it's only important to realize and recognize how much potential sports can play in peace building when we are creating such environments that allow us to deconstruct things that hold us apart. We are constructing a perfect environment of understanding, mutual progression, and an environment that brings us together, closer, and allows us to achieve much more.
Thank you very much, Paris. Let me now come to Berk, who's my neighbor here. Berk also works with the local MEP here in Nicosia, the member of the European Parliament. He's also a youth engagement coordinator at the Global Policy Center, which is a Nicosia-based think tank. So, Berk, you are an activist with many hats.
Yes, I tried. I try to.
You try to. Could you maybe walk us through some of the activities you're engaged in? What is your driver? And also, what is your assessment of the level of youth engagement at the grassroots level? Because I mean, you will also discuss, I guess, the demotivation of the disengagement.
Yes,
so
yes.
Could you maybe share a few thoughts?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Arnaud, for allowing me to speak. Activism, I can almost say that I inherited from a family, from family level. My family has a really big trade unionist root, so I can even, at 5 years old, I can remember myself during the Annan Plan rallies next to Kerinya Gate on my father's shoulder saying, yes, 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 if you say yes, Europe will be with you, Cyprus. So I grew up in such an environment. It was always active. And during my high school years, I got engaged with the local political parties, CTP, in the Turkish Cypriot community's youth organization, because for those of you who doesn't live in the Turkish Cypriot community, it can be a little tricky. The international recognition is a bit limited, so the biggest platform for you to share your words, share your voice was on a local policies and local administration level. So I was involved, I'm still involved. I think it's been 15 years. We did campaigns in the European Parliament, we did campaigns in local policies, we did campaign on municipal levels as well. So thereafter I went to my studies in the UK. After I come back, it was a long period, but I want to touch on my experience here. After I come back here, it was COVID. The borders were closed, and it was just after Cram Montana. Everybody was losing hope, and everybody in the youth was demotivated, even myself. So my motivation, what I'm doing these things right now that I'm gonna tell, comes from the demotivation that I had. That one day there was a beautiful event. I'm sure you will remember. Cypriots gathered together in the bastion over there, just over there, from both sides. Greek Cypriots in next to Paphos Gate and Turkish Cypriots in the bastion above. And even so, under that conditions, they were singing music. They were protesting peacefully for peace and opening of the checkpoints. So I said to myself, okay, if the last generations, if the older generations failed us, then why am I delegating all my active citizenship? Why am I delegating all my thing to people, to other people? I should sit down, I should stand up, think about it, what to do, and act for myself and act for my generation. So we were protesting. Of course, I mean, I always try to find a reason to protest. We were protesting. And then after the checkpoints were open, I started to become involved with the BICOM initiatives like HADE. We did excursions under UN to Lefka. UNFICYP was always there. I need to state that. To Lefka, to Karpaz, to other areas of Cyprus. Then I started to get meaningful relationships with the other community. And when you spend some time over activism, you sit down and realize that the person in front of you, maybe you don't know where that person lives, maybe you don't know where their background, can share a very similar and the same story with you. And I think this is something meaningful. And after that, I started to get involved. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't satisfied with the local level of policies. So I started getting involved with ELCOI, that also under the auspices of United Nations, which, yes, we will be hearing about it very soon. And another organization called Cyprus Youth Diplomacy, which is, I think we will hear about it. So, which aims to promote active citizenship in youth. So, yeah, I mean, this is the story. I mean, you should. One thing I can summarize. I didn't wanna. I will be honest. I didn't prepare a speech. I just wanted to sit down and share my honest experience on the field. That youth or anybody shouldn't sit down and delegate their active citizenship to someone. If you want to do something, anything is possible, we should act. And when you act, you will see it's more possible than you think it is.
Berk. So you've mentioned ELCOI, and that brings me to our fifth and last speaker for this round, Evgenia. Thank you for being with us. Evgenia is a delegate of Cyprus Youth for Climate. She's also a former UN Youth Champion for Environment and Peace, and she's the founder of ELCOI that Berk just mentioned. So Evgenia, could you tell us a little bit about the ELCOI journey, why it is important, and can you also elaborate on the linkage with some SDGs, including SDG 13. And one thing that you shared before coming here today was that you wanted also to speak about the costs of a non-solution, including in terms of environmental degradation. So it would be great to hear from you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnaud. Thank you. Thank you, Arnaud, for the floor. And I'm truly delighted to be speaking among such aspiring co-panelists and friends, I must say. I would like to start by sharing something that a friend of mine, a fellow activist from Argentina, mentioned when I first met him, that you have to think global, but always act local. And I think that quote explains in a nutshell what ELCOIs are. ELCOI stands for Local Conference of Youth on Climate Change. And it's a structure that has been happening all around the world, from Latin America to Germany to Ghana. And there was nothing similar in Cyprus. It's a structure within UNGO, which is the Youth and Children constituency to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And essentially, I co-found this initiative. As Arnaud mentioned, I first started in 2020 as a UN Youth Champion for Environment and Peace in our island. And in 2021, I joined the Youth for Climate International Network. And with my co-delegate, Sasha, we came back to Cyprus and we thought, why not do something for Cyprus? We were there at the International Youth Forum, so let's do something for Cyprus. And so we joined with other UN youth champions. We pitched the idea to the UN, to the British High Commission, to the British Council that kindly supported us to organize this initiative and this platform. And it's been a year and a half now, and we've already organized 2 conferences. We drafted 2 policy papers that are available in Greek, Turkish, and English. We handed those policy papers to Mr. Anastasiadis and Mr. Tatar. And also, we tried to do a bit of local advocacy. We also had our fair share of international successes as well, I must say. We're very happy to see that ELCOI was mentioned in the report of the UN Secretary General on his mission on the good offices in Cyprus in July 2023. So we're extremely proud of that. And thank you to the UN in Cyprus for the support. And we've also organized intercommunal delegations. We've had young people joining the global event before COP27 in Egypt. We traveled together to Strasbourg in France. And why I think, coming to the next question, why is ELCOI important? I think it's because it combines many SDGs together, including SDG 13 on climate action, but also 16, 17, because we work together on peace and justice for Cyprus. And it's unique because it's the only ELCOI in the world which is focused on environmental peace building. So to conclude, what I think is the cost of no action and where I can see more when it comes to implementation, I do think that there is a cost of no solution to the Cyprus problem, because we're missing out on so many opportunities of working together, especially when it comes to environment. We could work together to exchange data to protect biodiversity on the island. We could have academic and experts working together. So ELCOI Cyprus is, of course, a very young initiative in all senses, but we really hope to inspire more young people, as well as interact with, like, have intergenerational dialogues to see some concrete climate action.
Thank you very much, Evgenia. So this completes our first round, and I'm gonna go back to Awa now. Awa, I was wondering if you had any initial thoughts about everything you've heard so far, and also given the fact that the SDGs have now been mentioned, if you could maybe walk us through the linkages between the YPS agenda and the SDGs, and if there are also any other lessons learned from other contexts that you think could be interesting to bring to the attention of this audience, that would be great. Thanks a lot.
Is this working? Yeah. So maybe just first on the SDGs. First to say, I've learned a lot just sitting here. It's been really, really interesting. But maybe just to start on the SDGs and to say that, well, there's one link. 2015 was a really important year for the SDGs, of course, as well as for the YPS resolution. You know, the SDGs, or should I say youth, like anybody else, is affected or will be affected if we are not able to meet the SDG targets, for sure. So it's certainly a given. And then specifically, when you talk about SDG 16, and you talk about issues of participation and inclusion, so, including as well as the work we do on peace building, of course, very important linkages. You know, it's about inclusion, it's about participation, but also about sustainability, right? It's one thing to invest in peace building. It's one thing to have the nice policies and papers and tools, But if these policies and papers and tools are not, number one, effective, number two, are not sustainable, and number three, are not sustained, then it's really, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but it is a problem, because ultimately we all know building peace is not cheap. It's not cheap. Just like development is not cheap. It requires a commitment at all different levels. And so as far as SDGs, so this just to answer your quick point on that. And I think in that sense, organizations like mine, the UN, and just from what I'm hearing here today, I do think that we have a really important role to play, but only one role. I think everybody has a role to play in building peace. And that's what I see listening to all of you speak today. I think, I'm really impressed with some of what I'm hearing. I can tell you one thing for sure. When I was under 30, I wasn't thinking of activism at all. I was thinking of other things. Maybe I should have started earlier. So I think that's been really, really admirable. The way you rightly said to really step up as young people, to understand the very important critical role you have in building peace, and to ensure that you do your part. And I think in that sense, we, the adults, or the elders, I say adults, sorry, the elder ones, or who've been here longer, we also have a role to play, like with the UN system, as do private sector, as does governments. I think ultimately what it is clear in this discussion is that everybody has their own very specific role to play. So I think that's also something else I learned. I do think I really like the idea about the costs of non-action, because this is an ongoing, it's a discussion beyond Cyprus. It's a discussion that speaks to prevention, and it's one of those really impossible, difficult issues to be able to quantify, and yet so very important. And it also speaks very much to the heart of what we are talking about when we talk about building peace today in the global political sphere, recognizing that conflict and crisis is expensive. And now you brought another element, which is the environmental aspects, which is not always so obvious. And so how do we quantify that? It's difficult. But we have to be able to find ways in which we are able to communicate, and in that sense, hopefully, to be able to work and speak to the right actors, not least governments, to understand why peace is in the long run much cheaper, much more effective, and much more desirable than non-peace, for want of a better word. So I think, so I've learned that. So just to say that I only arrived in Cyprus, my first time in this country, and I arrived less than 24 hours ago, actually. I was checking the time, but I've learned an immense amount. It's been really, really very, very interesting. It also what it also shows you is that we have a lot that we can learn from each other. My office, PBSO, DPPA in New York, has a global mandate. So if you look at what we do as far as on the ground, there's so many experiences that I can share. And the challenges you'll find are also very, very similar. The challenges are about funding, the availability of adequate funding. The other challenge is about capacity, ensuring that our partners have the requisite capacity to be able to effectively and meaningfully engage, and where those capacities don't exist, to be able to support them to build those capacities. In a very small way, at least from where we sit, we try to support civil society organizations. We try to support them. We have a peace building fund, and we try to ensure that we provide resources, financial resources, to build capacities of NGOs so they can contribute. We manage what is called the Youth Promotion Initiative, which is a very specific initiative that has funding for civil society. And we, as in my office, is the leading donor, global donor for YPS activities. Currently, we've invested about $128 million in 97 countries to focus very much on YPS. So I will leave it here. I mean, I know I'm running out of time, but there's a lot of experience. I can tell you there's a lot of experiences that we can share from some of the activities we do. But also there's a lot that I would love to hear from you, because we as the UN do have a very unique position in being able to connect people, to convene people, to share experiences, to put pressure on governments, to bring in IFIs, World Bank, IMF, for them to understand why the SDGs is really about everybody putting their hands together and doing these sort of activities in a much longer term. Thanks.
Thank you, Awa. This is the not so glamorous part of being a moderator. It's no, and it means I failed, but we're gonna have to, unfortunately, speed up a little bit. Let's go back to Asya now. Asya, something which we did not mention is your role former role in the Chamber of Industry in the North. I would be interested to hear your views on the Green Line regulation trade, how young entrepreneurs can also, be a part of the solution, and any thoughts on peace and economics, please, from you. Thanks.
Thank you, Arnaud. So I'm trying to be quick on this. So when we think about the Turkish-Cypriot EU relations, we already know that it's depending on two main regulations, and which is, one of them is the Green Line regulation, which explains which regulates the trade, geographically speaking, from north to the south. And there's like financial aid regulation as well, which is important for the youth aspect, because the scholarships is based on the financial aid regulation and everything. And the Seeing Youth project, for what they have right now about giving internships as well, is related to the financial aid regulation. But if we continue with the Green Line regulation, we should take into consideration that what they have in mind while having this Green Line regulation. So with the trade, they wanted to have this spillover effect. So to increase the economic activity across the divide, to help develop economic and social contracts, like EU did with France and Germany at the beginning. So the approach in mind was the peace through trade approach. And with this approach, they wanted to just have the potential outcomes to facilitate the reunification as well. So about the policy recommendations, what we can do is could be just give the floor to youth and like the young entrepreneurs to work together. As, for example, they did with the startups, it could be really good with the youth entrepreneurs as well. For example, there's a really good one that Turkish Cypriot sells to his counterpart, Greek Cypriot, the olives, and they made olive oils and they sell to the world together. So, which is a really good example, and which we should multiply these examples. So to give them the opportunity to multiply the examples could be a really good opportunity to achieve this peace through trade approach with a youth elements. Thank you.
So much, and also for promoting Cypriot products after Halim Alumin or the olive oil. So very well done.
My
there you go.
work.
Paris, let me come back to you and ask you a very inquisitive question. Where were you 8 days ago? And do you have any? You mentioned sport. Any thoughts about how sport can precisely be this tool to bring people together? Please, quick.
Yeah. So first of all, yes, 8 days ago, with the Winds of Change program, we did something that is that was thought to be impossible. We were the first bi-communal sailing team that managed to sail all around the island together. The participants. I had the honor to be amongst great people, great individuals who together, we engaged together in this activity, having little or no sailing experience. Together, we built a team, we built a family, and we went and faced a major challenge to make the circumnavigation of the island without knowing. Everything went smooth, everything went great, and there is it's important to establish the impact of sports, because it was not solely a participation in sports, but it was a multilateral win for our island. As for instance, just participating in sports gives you only that much, but the inspiration, the empowerment, and all the values that come out of this journey are truly words cannot really do justice to the emotions that everyone has felt. So that's why we believe that I believe that sports is a great pathway to peace building because it enables people to engage in a very fun activity, in something that bonds people. And it really has the capacities to make more, to address more than one SDG. As for instance, the empowering institutions, inclusion, equality, life below water in the case of winds of change. So from my side of things, the sports side of things, I believe that such initiatives should be endorsed and they should be supported in order to help youth to engage in peace building. Thank you.
Yes. Berk, you mentioned earlier the motivation and disengagement. I don't know if you want to continue on that. What would be really interesting, because unfortunately time is of the essence here, maybe to share some thoughts in terms of how youth voices, concerns, needs can also be channeled through existing track one bodies, such as the technical committees. Maybe I will have a question for you, Evgenia, afterwards. But any thoughts you can share, please?
Yes, we started youth seeing more active in most of the member states of the European Union. You have youth bodies. In Cyprus, you have a youth board as well, youth council as well. But since because of the divide, we cannot have a comprehensive and a holistic and a totally inclusive youth body. Regarding the track one peace process, I think on the island we can have a technical committee on youth, where youth from political parties or from experts on youth, activists from the field, can come together and share their insights. Because if you go back to the very name of this panel, meaningful participation, the main reason of the demotivation on the island is that in politics, in Cypriot politics, youth is just there for the campaign material, just a face there for the pictures. They call you to sit in a cafe. They call you to go attend for an event. But when it comes to actual policy making, decision making, I don't see youth is there. I mean, that was one of the biggest drives of me as well, becoming part of the Global Policy Center, which is a think tank that we can produce, that I can produce. I wanted to produce, but I wasn't finding a platform. And then I was lucky enough to be in the European Parliament. And then another meaningful thing bicameral happened. I just want to touch up on that as well. Recently, there was a European Citizens Prize. It's a prize that European Parliament gives, and our office worked on it. And the bicommunal pride in the buffer zone under the auspices of UN accepts Cyprus and Queer Cyprus to two big LGBTQ organizations. Since 2004, they organize a bicommunal pride. They won the European Citizens Prize. So youth being there, working together, if you just sit down for a bit and forget about the adjectives that you need to put into each other, because if you don't think regarding to the adjectives, then if you just have the aim to do something, it's possible. Sorry, I wanted to. Yeah, we have a limited amount of.
No, thank you very much. No, that's great. Evgenia, would you like maybe to continue on the same vein? Thank you very much.
You can hear me, please. Yeah, I must just say that in preparation of today's panel, I just did a quick Google search online and I put the keywords Cyprus problem and young people. And then the first results that I saw were just, why do young Cypriots migrate and what are the mental health issues that Cypriot youth is facing? So even with that quick search, you could see the challenges that people in Cyprus are facing, but also, as Berk said, the fact that we don't have a platform for meaningful youth participation and voicing our voice also when it comes to the Cyprus problem. So also some challenges that I have seen through climate advocacy is how do we address the leaders in a letter, and how do we write language neutral policy papers? So these were some existential questions that we had to answer. Now, in terms of some policy recommendations, I will focus on three parts: transparency, meaningful youth participation, and a seat at the table. So, echoing the theme of Cyprus Forum, transparency, I think we need to be transparent when it comes to how can a young person get involved with the negotiations, for example. Do we have enough political education in Cyprus or just politics in education? And are the negotiations and all the jargon youth-friendly? Does everyone in Cyprus speak and understand English? Maybe we have to think like who is missing from the negotiating rooms and who is missing even from this room today. And also echoing what Berk said about the meaningful youth participation, it's not just about taking pictures with young people, inviting young people in events. We need platforms, and the technical committee on youth suggestion, as well as ELCOI's suggestion of having more young people involved within existing structures should be the way forward. And if negotiations are to resume, hopefully, we want a table in the negotiations. And at the end of the day, it's our future at stake. So we will be the ones facing the consequences of solution or no solution. So we really hope, of course, that negotiations resume, but it's not just about them resuming, but having meaningful discussions and meaningful participation in there. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Awa, would you like to maybe, in a few words, not providing concluding remarks, but just wrapping us up? Thank you very much.
As colleagues were talking, I was just sort of trying to note a few points or observations. So, a lot of the words that have been said, for example, you mentioned mental health, mentioned the issue of migration, of climate, of participation inclusion. When you talked about real participation conclusion, I noticed everybody was sort of nodding on, because clearly there's a general sense that youth feel that they need to participate and do so meaningfully. I just wanted to say that these are all words that, for some of us who work on peace building, and I've been working on peace building for many years now, we hear it. I mean, it's here, but clearly it's a global problem. And so just to say that this is something that we collectively have to work on together, and that you have a lot that you can share, not only here, but globally, but also a lot that you can learn from other parts of the world where other young people are grappling with some of the similar challenges, and to see how we can collectively work on these together. And then also to say that, there are developments that are happening and that are coming. For example, I don't know whether you know of the Summit of the Future that's planned for the next 2024. And this is a really important summit because it's about your future more than mine. And it's really admirable, and I'm not just saying it because I'm sitting here. I'm saying I'm very impressed at how much young people have stood up and continue to stand up to take control and to take charge and to demand. I don't think we did when like I keep saying, when I was your age. I do think the young people of today are very different from the young people of my time. But it's really admirable, and I urge you to continue to do so, to continue to push, to continue to demand, to ask questions, and continue to hold all of us to task and all of us accountable. And for the UN, we have to commit to continue to work with you. And as we go towards the Summit of the Future, at least from my office that leads on the YPS, we are committed to ensuring that the work of the youth peace and security work, the work of the youth, is front and center in the Summit of the Future, so that the challenges that you will face, we can start. We should be addressing them. Climate change being the environment. I mean, they're endless challenges. Let's work together to address them together for your future. Thanks.
Very much. Let me thank very much the 5 panelists, Awa, for your very valuable insights. The 4 of you for I think your journeys showcase courage, hope, determination. So thank you. And to all of you, apologies. I mean, we won't have time for question and answers, but as people are exiting, feel free to grab them and ask them the questions you have. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.